Today on Murfreesboro Storytellers, we're at the future site of the new headquarters for the Murfreesboro Police Department. We're interviewing Chief Glenn Chrisman, who has announced his retirement effective at the end of the year. We look back on his career with Murfreesboro Police Department and where he thinks the department and the city are heading in the future. Welcome to Murfreesboro Storytellers. Our program today is emanating from 1004 North Highland Avenue. That's the former address of the Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, soon to be the headquarters for the Murfreesboro Police Department. And as our special guest for the program, we're pleased to have Glenn Chrisman with us, retiring chief of the department. Glenn, welcome.
Nice to be here, John. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be with you on Storytellers again.
Great to talk to you about your career. And first of all, let's talk a little bit about this building and how did this happen, Glenn, that the department acquired the building?
Well, as we've discussed earlier, we were in the process of looking for space to construct a new police headquarters. We had projected a 125,000 square foot building as a part of our capital improvement plan. And after the hospital moved and the medical offices moved, there were some efforts made to attempt to repurpose this building for a variety of different uses. And it came to our attention that it was available. They hadn't found a suitable tenant for it at that point. It is 125,000 square feet, which was exactly what we were looking for. It's centrally located. One of the things that was very attractive about it is the parking, the ground parking that's around it. Because if you construct a multi-level building and you have to create a parking garage or a deck, those spaces are quite expensive.
And parking in front as well as in the rear.
Parking in the front and the rear, great location. Repurposing the building, I think, resonated with city officials, council members, and certainly our staff, and we're just excited about it. We think it's a great opportunity and great potential for the future of policing in Murfreesboro.
Yeah. Preserving and maintaining a fine building that's served the community over the years.
Oh, absolutely. Well, as we said earlier, I was born in Rutherford Hospital. I was raised here, and as many of the people that have called Murfreesboro home for generations, a lot of my medical care for me, my family, my daughter, my mother and father was right here in this building, and we're excited about carrying on that tradition of service for this building on North Island.
Glenn, just generally, what will it take to put this building in the state that you need it for the department? Major renovation of the building or redesigning the building? It will.
What's happened so far is the interior of the building has been demolished. All of the walls are gone.
Oh, I see.
And part of that was so that we could see where the structural supports were inside the building and open the building up so that it could be redesigned, if you will, for police use in the future. From there, the roof will have to be replaced, and so it will come off and be replaced. And the brick veneer that's on the building, much of it's 25 plus years old. Mm-hmm. There are some thermal and some seismic reasons why the architects and engineers think that the brick needs to come off and be replaced. So in essence, we'll begin with the structure of the building remaining, as well as the infrastructure, all of the electrical and the water and sewer that's already here. And then new roof, new exterior, and certainly a redesigned interior of the building that will be designed for a 30-year contemporary police facility.
Approximately how many square feet do you have in your present headquarters?
If you look at all the buildings that we have, it's something in the neighborhood of about 60,000 square feet. And the consultants that we had that did the original feasibility study for us suggested that right now we need about 93,000 square feet. So this building will not only take care of our immediate needs, but then give us some great growth expansion for the future as our city continues to grow.
Even the square feet you're talking about you're using now, that's scattered about in more than one building, isn't it?
It is. Of course, the main police building was built in 1973, so it's in its 42nd year.
That was the former location of Hargrove Office Outfitters, as I recall.
Well, and
part of it was.
Well, part of it was, yeah. And then where Hargrove's actually was, city purchased that building several years ago, and that's where our uniform division operates from. Just down the street on South Church, we purchased another property that houses our records and evidence operation, and then, as you remember, when City Hall was built, some years ago, the city actually purchased the old Courier Printing building.
Right.
And that's where the police annex is located, and we occupy all of that space as well. And I guess it's been 2 years now. We moved all of our criminal investigators out to the old Parks real estate offices on Rutherford Boulevard. Have about 10,000 square feet out there where our criminal investigation office is, and then we've got some other spaces that we use for other operations in the city. But we are kind of scattered, and this will bring all of our operation back under one roof, with the exception of some of our undercover operative space that we have, and our special operations unit. It'll all come back to here.
So that will provide even more efficiency, I'm sure, to have everyone together and operating there in one location.
It will, and just the improvement in communications, being able to have everybody in the same building and seeing people, and one of the things that we're frankly very excited about for the public is it will virtually be one-stop shopping again. If you come into the front of this building and you need a police report, you need to file a police report, you want to make a complaint, you need to see the chief, you might need to speak to a detective, you might need to talk to somebody about a crash investigation, all of those resources and personnel will be here to assist you.
That's wonderful. Tell us about the department now as you're about to retire. What's the size of the department?
Currently 237 sworn positions are authorized, and we are our total authorized strength, civilian personnel, non-sworn personnel, is about 325, just over that. It's about, when I started in 1976, I think we had about 50 police officers.
Boy.
And the population of the city at that point was about 32,000, so it's grown. The department has grown as the city has grown, and certainly that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, for all areas of the city of Murfreesboro, is keeping pace with the growth and providing the services that our citizens have grown to expect and deserve.
Sure. What are some of the major problems that the department faces in the community as far as crime or major needs, I guess I should say?
Well, I think if you look at what's going on in America right now with policing, you know, one of the biggest things that I think all police departments in the United States of America are tasked with is continuing to build and strengthen community relations. Right. We are at our best. Law enforcement officers and law enforcement agencies are at our best when you have the support of the community, and when the community works with law enforcement to recognize and identify problems that affect quality of life, and then when the citizens and their law enforcement agencies work collaboratively, collectively, to find solutions to those problems. We have been blessed here because for 25 years or more, we have worked, number one, to build those relationships, number two, to integrate community policing into the philosophy and the mission of the Murfreesboro Police Department. And because of that, and because of the dedication of the people that we have that work for us, we've just been blessed, frankly, with the relationships that we have, not only with our inner city communities, our faith-based partners, schools, you know, all of our partners that we work with, not just our other law enforcement partners, but that makes for an environment where we're able to do the very best job that we can at serving and delivering police services, and at the same time being responsive to the issues that affect quality of life for our citizens. I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we see going forward. As we look at policing across America and the President's 21st Century Report on policing for the future, relationship building, service delivery, you know, more transparency in the way policing's done, more transparency in the way police investigations of officer-involved incidents are done. Those are all things that are a part of that report, and many of those things, if not all of those things, we're already doing here and have been for a long time.
Do you have any gang problems in our community, or have you had?
We do. We do. We were very blessed, I guess 7 or 8 years ago now, to be a part of a grant from the Department of Justice that was administered through Tennessee's Office of Criminal Justice Programs that actually put a gang unit in place for Murfreesboro. And so for several years now, we've had a dedicated team of investigators who focus just on that. and they partner very powerfully with federal agencies, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, Drug Enforcement Administration, the FBI, United States Attorney's Office, to try and identify and apprehend those most serious of gang-related violators, whether they're involved in just the criminal enterprise of gangs, which always comes back to some kind of drug involvement. But where those cases rise to the level that they need to be adopted for federal prosecution, we're able to bring our federal partners to the table to help with that, and have been very successful in some of that work, which has improved quality of life for the people that live in our city. The other piece of that that's really important, and this was a part of the original grant as well, it's one thing to have an enforcement side to gang-related criminal activity, but you got to have an education piece as well. Yes. And so at the same time that we did that, we supplemented our existing drug abuse resistance education programs in Murfreesboro City Schools with the integration of a gang reduction education and training program, gang resistance education and training program called GREAT, which seeks to teach elementary age school children about paying attention to who your friends are, paying attention to peer pressure, making good decisions about who you spend time with and the things that you do. And we feel like that at those very elementary stages of life and education,
very important.
If the police department, in conjunction with Murfreesboro City Schools, are beginning to have those kinds of conversations with our young children to say, drugs are an issue, here's what you need to know about drugs. Gangs and gang recruitment and gang affiliation is an issue, here's what you need to know about that. If we can be a part of transmitting that message as early as the 4th and the 5th grades, then we got a chance to at least do something productive, positive, educationally, that hopefully will have a positive impact on that in our city. So it's a multi-pronged approach. There's an educational component, but then there's a strong enforcement, investigative component to that, because gangs and gang-related crimes typically are violent crimes. They result in injuries, deaths, and certainly that's not something that we want to occur in our city.
That's for sure. It's wonderful the change that have taken place over the years. That I guess historically a police officer with a uniform was someone to be feared and not somebody you would know and respect and have relationships with. And I know you get that by being in the schools as well.
You do. And there are a lot of reports that would suggest that the data from programs like DARE and GREAT would suggest that they're not as effective as perhaps we would like for them to be. But one of the things that's can't be underestimated is the relationship building that happens between a child in one of those school situations, one of those classroom situations, that has a chance to meet and interact with a police officer, male or female, and maybe establish a role model that's missing in that child's life. That may be as or more important than the educational components of DARE or GREAT, but I don't know how you get that otherwise.
And I'm sure that's a major problem with so many kids growing up today don't have that role model that they need so badly. It's so important in their lives.
They don't, and as Daryl Gates, who was the police chief in Los Angeles generations ago when the DARE program was founded, I remember reading a report from him or a story from him one time that said that if drug education or anti-drug education couldn't happen in the home and couldn't happen in the school curriculum, if law enforcement had to take a proactive role in providing part of that education and training, then it was a responsibility that he felt we needed to have, because at some point law enforcement was going to deal with the tragedy of drug use and abuse and the violence that goes with that, and the same thing's true with gang-related crimes.
What about guns in the hands of citizens? That's a controversial issue these days. And how can we overcome some of the difficulties, some of the incidents that have happened with, it seems like, with the presence of guns?
Well, I think certainly the Second Amendment provides for the
Absolutely.
lawful ownership of firearms in the United States of America. And I think in Tennessee, and certainly in our part of Tennessee, people feel very strongly about that right to bear arms. And I think responsible gun ownership is not the problem. I think it's people who have access to firearms that seek to use them for illegal, illicit activities. So I think education has to play a big part of that. I think legislatively there are some things that we can do that probably will help that and that have helped that. But I think you get back to the whole business that people who are armed and choose to use firearms to victimize other people are the problem, and I'm not sure we've got the answer for that yet. I think the General Assembly continues to struggle with that. The United States of America continues to struggle with that. But people that want a firearm will find one somewhere. And I think part of that responsibility comes back to all of us that own firearms and that are responsible firearms owners to make sure that we're doing the best job of that we can.
Good, thank you. Let's talk more about Glenn Chrisman. Started in law enforcement with the Sheriff's Department, I understand.
Robert Goodwin gave me an opportunity to begin my law enforcement career in January of 1976 and worked there through November. I actually started with Murfreesboro Police on December the 1st of 1976. I wouldn't take anything for that time I spent working as a Rutherford County Sheriff's Deputy, because I got to see not only the side of law enforcement that deals with the issuance of warrants, both criminal and civil warrants, but what it takes to serve those warrants and to obtain process for the various courts in Rutherford County. The other piece of that was very interesting for me was seeing what's involved with the operation and management of a jail facility. And of course, back then we were still on West Main Street. Right. Sheriff Arnold was on the radio this morning, and I was listening to him talk about some of the unique challenges that they have with the Rutherford County Adult Detention Facility and space and managing just that prisoner population. And as a young sheriff's deputy, I got to see that firsthand, and I'm thankful for that. Came to work for the city in December of '76. Claude Armour was the police commissioner then.
Right. At that time, the commissioner was in charge of police and fire.
Police and fire. And had a dear friend who had graduated from MTSU, gone to work for Murfreesboro, and I'd worked in a restaurant here in town in Jackson Heights before that, where we had needed Murfreesboro police assistance.
It's a saddle restaurant.
Well, it was actually Burger Broil.
Later became
Jackson
Happy
Heights.
Burger. Excuse me.
And that Jackson Heights was quite the hopping place back then, which led to frequent calls for police service up there. And so I not only saw my friend begin a law enforcement career, but then actually as a business manager interacted with Commissioner Armour some to try to find solutions to some of the problems we were having in Jackson Heights at that time. And I liked what I saw. I liked the service component of that. I liked that we had great people, and was excited about being a part of that.
What was the size of the department when you joined it? Do you recall?
I think it was about 50 police officers there, and 32,000 residents.
Yeah. So the community's grown, the department has grown to go with it to be able to take care of its needs.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest challenge you've had as a police officer over the years, and then finally as chief?
Well, I think the biggest challenge as chief certainly has been keeping pace with growth. Last year in Murfreesboro, we responded to something in excess of 108,000 calls for service. Those aren't telephone calls. Those are situations where a police officer responds to a request and takes a report, makes an arrest, does some policing function. That's just about 300 times a day. And as our city continues to grow and our population continues to grow, those demands increase. And that means that you've got to have staff to respond to those service needs, and you've got to maintain that staff with hiring and training and equipping. And so I think those are the biggest challenges, is just managing the challenges of growth. And that's a good thing to have. The city that's on the move and growing is a positive environment. It's a great place to be.
How about 911, E911? How has that changed the operation of the department. I know it's been my pleasure to serve with you on the E911 board. You're serving as chair. That's different from the old days of the dial phone, I guess.
It is. 911 obviously brought emergency response to people who were in crisis situations in a quicker, more professional way than it had ever been available before, because you're able to dial those 3 digits and know that police, fire, or ambulance are on their way to you, whatever your emergency may be, and that changed the emergency communications world that we live in forever. And as you well know, and our citizens probably do, that's about to take a quantum leap forward again with what we call next generation 911 that will bring all of these new communications tools, text messages, photographs, and streaming video. That will bring a lot of those things to the 911 environment, some of which will be very, very helpful, but will create an additional stressor and some challenges for our public safety telecommunicators.
Education, Glenn, you're a graduate of MTSU, as I recall, with 2 degrees?
3. I got
3 degrees.
associates, bachelor's, and master's degrees, and was blessed to be able to attend the FBI National Academy in 1992. Graduate of Leadership Rutherford. Was in the last graduating class of Central High School in 1972 with Gary, your son,
absolutely,
classmates, and education's been a big part of my life. I laughingly say everybody in my family was a teacher except me. My brother graduated from MTSU, Gary, and he taught and coached in East Tennessee most of his life. His wife was a teacher, and my sister Billie Jean was a teacher and in the Tennessee Teachers Hall of Fame. I'm very proud of her, and I know been a friend of yours for many, many years.
She's a delight.
And so education's been a big part of my life from their standpoint, and then certainly the opportunities that I've had to further my education while I've been policing.
I know you've been very active in the organization of police chiefs around, for the state of Tennessee, and it brought a lot of development for law enforcement in the state, as I understand it.
It's been a real blessing for me to be involved with the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police. I became a member first in 1996 as a deputy chief, and then sat on that board for about 10 years, was president of that association about 3 years ago, and have gotten to know very closely and work very closely with police chiefs from all across Tennessee, the big 4 cities, as well as other cities our size and smaller ones, as we continue to try to improve the professionalism of police departments in Tennessee and provide more training and preparation for police officers and police executives and administrators. And that's worked closely with the General Assembly when you were there and since on issues that affect law enforcement in Tennessee and how we serve our citizens to the best of our ability. That's been very, very rewarding.
I know you've had a lot of opportunities over the years, and I'm sure that so many times you've had great satisfaction in some of the things that you've been able to do or accomplish. What would stand out in your memory there is situations that gave you great pleasure and great pride?
Well, just watching the work of our police officers and our dispatchers every day, and I can't really say that there's a specific event or series of events that I can point to as any one particular thing, but the people that work with us and work for us continue to impress and make me so proud day in and day out, just because of how they interact with our citizens, the service they provide for our citizens, the compassion and the caring way that they go about the work that they do. Probably no less than 5 times a week, I'll get a card, a letter, an email, a Facebook post, something from a citizen that says, what your police officer or your public safety dispatcher did meant so much to me that I want to take time to let you know about it, so that you'll let them know about it and you'll let the mayor and council know about it. And you don't read about those things on the front page of the paper. They don't make the 6 o'clock news every night, but the work that they're doing every day to make Murfreesboro a better place to live, work, and raise a family and provide for the safety of our community, that's the thing that's been the most rewarding for me, particularly as a chief and as a police officer, to see what they do that changes the lives of our citizens.
You mentioned Facebook. Is that a factor in law enforcement? Is it used in law enforcement?
It's being used more. I think we're transitioning more to that.
All the social media,
Twitter, Instagram, all of those things. There's some very powerful applications that benefit law enforcement, and we're trying to leverage those whenever we can.
Would you, if you had an opportunity, would you do it all over again?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been a great privilege and a blessing to be of service. Everybody in my family was in a service career, and it's just been a privilege for me to be able to give back in that way as well.
For young people who might be watching our program, what advice would you give them if they want to become a police officer?
Well, education and training certainly sets the stage for that. We're blessed here to have a large candidate pool. Every time we apply, we might have 300 to 500 people apply for 5 jobs.
Is that right? Wonderful.
So education and training, I think, sets the stage for that. And then you have to be tenacious and persistent, because like me, you might not get hired the first time. So you have to keep coming back and keep trying. And then if you really want to have a career in law enforcement, serving other people has to be the first thing that's in your mind. And I tell our police recruits, faith first, family second, job last. And I think if you're able to do those things in that order, you'll be able to serve very powerfully in a law enforcement job.
And Glenn, I'd say you and the department have been very fortunate to have a mayor and a council over the years that is very supportive of you and helps you out in whatever you need.
Can't say enough about them. We've had the best mayors and council members, city managers and their staffs, from being in the Tennessee Chiefs and hearing stories about other jurisdictions and those governing bodies and those management officials. I can't tell you how very blessed we are. And if you look at our community, I think it reflects that. And I'll even take that a step farther, John, and just say what a wonderful group of people we have that call Murfreesboro home, that support the work of our local law enforcement officers. Our citizens are second to none.
I agree with you. We're very fortunate in the opportunity that we have here in our community. Many years ago, young people graduating from high school would have to go off somewhere to find jobs, but we don't have that problem anymore here in our community with our growth and development.
Absolutely. I don't know why you'd want to live anywhere else.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Glenn Chrisman, thank you for your service. We wish for you the most happy retirement you could ever have, and appreciate your service in law enforcement over the years, and appreciate your friendship.
My pleasure, John. Same to you. It's been a great pleasure to be with you today.
Well, thank you very much. We've enjoyed having Glenn Chrisman, retiring as chief of the Murfreesboro Police Department, as our special guest on Murfreesboro Storytellers.